Looks like there is no audio.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Okay. So that's why I sent a message whether I'm audible or not. There was no response. So that's why I was continuing. Okay, fine. So here in the last session, we discussed about overall idea I gave regarding the full stack development. So in that I depicted like what is front end, what is back end, what is database, what are the different types of tools they are used in that. Okay. So initially for this particular training program, initially we cover the Python followed by database PostgreSQL, that means developing database RDBMS database there. Then after that, how to connect Python with the databases. This is the first part. In the second part, we go with the front-end development, like we use in that HTML, CSS, JavaScript, then Angular, jQuery, Bootstrap. They are covered in that. And then after that, we go again to the server side or backend. In that, we use some web application framework from the Python. Django and Flask, I'm going to cover both of them. Okay, there are many other web application frameworks from the Python community, like Fast API we have. Tornado is one such thing. One more thing is Falcon. There are so many things, but I cover Django as well as Flask. Okay. Then after that, we give a project. In the third part, we give a project that you need to do. Okay. So initially the session may be lasting for some 50 minutes to 1 hour, but later on that gets prolonged to 1.5 hours, something like that. Otherwise, covering concepts can be difficult. Okay. So now today I introduce you to Python, what exactly Python is, and what are the types of data you have in the Python that we discuss. Then few programs we are going to write related to input as well as output. Okay, so Python is a high-level programming language, and it is a general purpose programming language. PL stands for here programming language. Python is a high-level as well as general purpose programming language. When you compare C with Python, with C language, you can do low-level programming or high-level programming. That means you can actually develop system software. So with that, you are going to drive the hardware. The system software will drive the hardware. Okay. But with the high-level languages like Python, we can develop only business applications. On top of everything, on top of OS, they are going to be running. Okay, so OS functions straight away, you cannot call from the Python. In the case of C, it's possible to do like that, but using Python, we cannot do such things. It's a very high-level language. Okay, and it is one more thing, general purpose programming language. Python is something similar to English language. That's why we call it as a high-level programming language. Not exactly like English, but it is something similar to English. It is expressive. Easily we can understand the constructs. Almost all languages, high-level languages are like this only, but Python is actually more, it's more like English. Okay, it's a very high-level language. Then it is a general purpose programming language. Using Python, we can develop any kind of application. Any kind in the sense here, it can be a console application, or it can be a web application, or it can be a desktop application, or network related applications, or cybersecurity related applications, or IoT related applications. You can develop any one of them. But our focus is going to be only with the web applications. Okay. So it is really vast, the domains, so many domains we have, but we are going to focus mostly on the full stack, that is web application development. Here only you have more and more opportunities. Okay. So Python, as I told, this is a high-level programming language and general purpose programming language. It's a case-sensitive language. It does differentiate between uppercase and lowercase. Unlike there are some languages like basic language, you take basic. Basic does not differentiate between uppercase or lowercase. Similarly, Visual Basic you take, it does not differentiate. VB.NET does not differentiate. If you have any experience with the Excel kind of thing, in the Excel, we use a language called VBA for writing macros. It's called as VBA, Visual Basic for applications. There we use, again, basic language. It is also not case sensitive. But Python is a case sensitive programming language. It does differentiate between uppercase and lowercase. Okay, so using Python, we can develop any kind of application with few limitations. Okay, it is not like C language. C is limitless. Okay, I mean, virtually you can do anything with the C language and you can develop very powerful applications using C. But unlike them, Python is a high-level language, mostly for developing the business applications. Within no time, we use it. That means when you use Python, you are going to be producing more and more. That is called as productive here. Within less time, you can produce more. But in the C, it takes more time to develop, but you develop robust applications, more robust with the C. Okay, definitely, depending on the requirement, you have to choose the language. Okay, depending on the requirement, depending on the time constraints, depending on the ecosystem, there are so many factors to choose a particular language or particular platform for developing applications. It's not just like that. Okay, so here Python is a high-level language, general purpose, case sensitive. That means it can differentiate between uppercase and lowercase. And Python you can use as a procedural language or object-oriented language. That's up to you. In whatever manner you want to use, you can use something like C++. You look at C++, using C++, you can use as a C language, or you can go with the object-oriented programming. Okay, when you work with the C++, it can be plain C code you can write in that, or you can go with the OOPS concepts. That's object-oriented programming. Whereas if you look at languages like Java or C# or VB.NET, they are pure object-oriented. Everything you need to write within the class, everything you need to encapsulate within the class. But in the case of Python, that's up to you whether you want to go with the function-based, function-based or object-oriented. So it can be a procedural or it can be object-oriented language. Python, they are the features you have in the Python language. Okay, so if you are familiar with the OOPS concepts, you can use the OOPS concepts in the Python, or else you need to learn. Otherwise, simply you can use the Python functions. With the help of that, you can finish the application. So basically, that is up to you. Okay, which path you want to choose. As far as performance is concerned, it doesn't make difference whether you use function-based or object-oriented. It's not going to make any difference. But when you go with the object-oriented approach, you have full control over it. Managing code can become very easy for us. Managing code can become very easy when you go with the modular approach. It is OOPS oriented. In such case, you can maintain easily that particular thing. When you have a bigger application, when more and more people are in that, in such cases, you need to go with the object-oriented programming concept. Suppose you have a very small application, you are targeting some kind of IoT device or edge device or some embedded application, so that you are going to embed within a chip. In such cases, you can go with C kind of programming. Okay, there if you try to do object-oriented concept, meaningless that is. So depending on the application requirement, you have to choose a model. What model you want to choose, what language is appropriate, what is the ecosystem, how many people, depending on the requirement, whether people who know that particular language are available or not. So it is going to be mattering on that. Available in the sense, suppose somebody may take some training, they say that we are ready, but definitely, in reality, they may not be ready. Okay, knowing few things like data types, loops, writing few functions, it is not enough. You have to have in-depth knowledge in every language. Then you can be fit for the application development. See, in earlier days, okay, people simply used to get jobs. But these days, particularly I'm talking about India. In India, it is very competitive market actually. It's very difficult to get a job. Probably I don't know much about US, how it is in the US. But since I did not work there, but in India, it is very, very competitive field. You have to be very good, then only you will get actually better jobs in the IT industry also. Okay, so I mean, in depth, you need to learn. Whatever you learn, you have to learn in depth. Further, it may take some time. That is the investment you are going to basically do. Okay, so that invest can return you so much. Return on investment can be very high if you learn the basics properly. Okay, so now let us look into the language aspects. Any programming language you take, so it has program is nothing but set of here statements. In our normal English, we call them as sentences. But if you take any computer programming language, it is actually set of statements. So how do we write statements using tokens? Like in our English, we frame sentences using various things we have in the parts of speech. It's called as parts of speech, like noun, pronoun. With the help of that, you frame a sentence. Then you can convey your information in a meaningful way to the person who is reading it or who is hearing that. Okay, it's the same thing in the case of computers. You need to interact with computer. So therefore, your computer must be understanding whatever you said. So grammatically, it should be correct. Whatever code you write, it should be understood by computer. So grammatically, it should be, first of all, very much correct. Then only it works. In the case of human beings, I mean, even grammatically something is wrong, we can interpret, we can understand that. But computers cannot be like that because they don't have any intelligence. So you need to write everything in a correct way. Okay, some of you may be knowing all these concepts, but I'm keeping, I mean, a layman totally in my mind, and accordingly, I'm trying to cover it. Okay, some of you may feel it is boring, okay, but I'm keeping, I mean, a layman in the mind, accordingly, I'm going ahead. So here, when you talk about a statement, statement is nothing but set of tokens. Then what is token? We have basically 5 types of tokens. One is keywords, okay, tokens. Then we have identifiers. Then we have operators. Then other thing is here, separators. Then one more thing is called constants. Okay, you take any programming language, they have to use these. With the help of that, a statement can be written. We can write a statement using these. But language to language, syntax changes. Syntax is going to be changing from language to language. For example, you take Urdu or Hindi. Urdu you take, we write from right to left. Okay, so it is called an RTL language. Similarly, you take like CJK, Chinese, Japanese, and Korean, we write top to bottom, and we use there actually some symbols. It's an ideographic language. But that's a language. Definitely, you have to have some grammar, but the way you write, it changes. Same thing in the case of computer programming languages. Okay, in some programming language, you may end statement using semicolon. In some, you may press enter key. I mean, depending on the language, you are going to use them. Okay, fine. So here, in the case of Python, you write a statement. At the end of the statement, when you press enter key, you are going to start a new line or new statement, like that it is. Okay, so statements are separated using here a enter key in the Python. In the Python language, when you press enter key, it is going to be a new line or next statement you are going to write. Statements get separated using enter key. Okay, so to write a statement, we use keywords, identifiers, operators, separators, constants. Of course, Python does not support constants. I'm talking about any programming language. Python does not support constant. You can declare a variable, you can declare a constant. Okay, but what happens? It is your responsibility to see that no one can modify that. Officially, Python does not support constants. Okay, there is no concept like no concept called constant in the case of Python. Okay, so it is our responsibility not to modify that. You need to be having some kind of validations when somebody is trying to modify constant. It should not be happening. Like that, you need to write some code. Otherwise, Python does not support constants. So keywords, identifiers, operators, and separators. With the help of that, you can create a statement. Okay, keywords means which are reserved words. Like for example, you have if, you have while. Okay, similarly, you may have something like for. So these can be called as here keywords which have predefined meaning. These are not functions. That means they are not reusable modules, but they are called as basically keywords. They have a predefined meaning for that. They have a predefined meaning. For that purpose, we have to use them. Something similar to, like in English, you use helping verbs like is, was, have, has. Similarly, personal pronouns like he, she, I. So like that, I mean, in English, we use them for their intended purpose. In the same way, we use these keywords for their intended purpose we are going to use. Okay, so they are called keywords. Keywords are reserved words by the programming language. They have some predefined meaning. If you try to use for your own purpose them, definitely compiler will not compile. Python code cannot be getting executed because you are violating. Okay, you are violating the rule. So keywords you cannot use for your own purpose. Whatever intended purpose you have, for that you have to use the keyword. Okay, so when you try to use it for your own purpose, you are violating the contract with the Python language. So in such cases, what happens? The Python code cannot work. It's going to be stop working. It reports error in such cases. Okay, so Python interpreter is that much intelligent. When it can't understand something, it simply says, I can't do that. So it shows error. Next thing is identifiers. Identifiers are nothing but user invented. User invented meaning is you may create a module, you may create a function, you may create a variable. So they can be called as here identifiers. User invented things are called as identifiers. There is some rule to create an identifier. Very first letter of the identifier can be underscore or it can be some alphabet. It can't be starting with a digit. Remember this, identifiers are user invented. A class name can be identifier, a variable name can be identifier, a function name can be identifier, a file name also can be identifier. Of course, for file names, you can use digits, no problem, because that is outside the scope of Python code. Okay, you are going to keep Python code within the file. So file is going to be container. Okay, when you load the container, when you load whatever code you have in that file into memory, when you start executing Python, in that case, it's going to look into that piece of code. It doesn't bother about file name. So the function names, whatever you define, the packages, whatever you define, similarly, the classes, whatever you define, if you go with the OOPS concept, if you declare some variable, in such case, they have to start with an alphabet or with the underscore. You cannot have a space. You cannot have any other characters except the alphabets, underscore, and digits. With that, you need to name. But the very first character cannot be digit in the case of identifier. It has to be starting with an alphabet. Suppose you want to declare a variable. If you try to write 1a equal to 10, this is wrong. So this is wrong. But when you write here a1 equal to 10, this is valid here. Similarly, you cannot write like this, a space 1 equal to 10. When you write, this is invalid. Okay, but if you go with this a1, this is going to be valid here. Like this, you can declare. In the first case, this is invalid. In the second case, this is valid. In the third case, again, it's invalid because you cannot have a space within the identifier. And one more thing, you can put an underscore in between them and you can create a identifier. So writing something like this is also actually valid. Okay, but you cannot have something like this. It can't be starting with a digit. So when you write like that, this is in fact wrong. So all identifiers always, they must start with the underscore or with the alphabet. Okay, you have to use an underscore or alphabet. With that, you have to start the identifier. Then you can assign values. Okay, so next thing is what operators. We know Python supports different types of operations like arithmetic. Okay, arithmetic like here plus, minus, then multiplication, then slash and percent. Okay, similarly you have integer division, then you have like exponent. Okay, so these are the operators, arithmetic operators supported in the Python language. And they follow here BODMAS rule. This rule, all of we know in the mathematics we come across when we study some 7th or 8th or 4th or 5th at the time, I think we go through this. It's BODMAS rule. So as per that only, here the arithmetic expressions will be evaluated. Whenever you run the Python application, as per that, it will be evaluated. For example, if you write here 2 plus 3 multiplied with some 5. So what result normally you expect? First of all, 2 is added with 3, then you get 5. When you multiply with 5, you get 25. But in fact, the result is going to be 17 here. It is going to be 17. Okay. When you have plus and multiplication, multiplication has higher precedence over the plus. So therefore, in such case, what happens? First of all, it's going to multiply 3 with 5. You get 15, and after the 2 is added. But normally what we think, first 2 we have, then plus, then 3, it is 5, then you multiply with 5, you get 25. You have to get normally 25, but you get 17. Okay, so here in such cases, you need to group them. You can group them together like this, then it can be getting multiplied. Similarly, I have here two numbers, I equal to some 10. Then here I can go with some j equal to some 3. In such case, normally the result, if you look at some languages, it's going to give 3 only. Because both of them are actually integers. Okay, both of them are integers. When you divide, when both operands are integers, the result is going to be integer. But in Python, you get actually 3 point, how much it is, 3.333, like this you can get. Okay, 3.333, in that manner, you are going to be getting it. But in some language, it gives only here 3. So 10 is an integer, 3 is an integer. When both of them involve in arithmetic operation, the result is going to be integer. And 10 is called as an operand, and 3 is called as operand. Operand is nothing but here the, variable or constant, whatever you have. So that quantity I can say in general as an operand. So 10 is an operand, 3 is an operand, slash is what here? Operator. So it is what type of operator? Binary operator. It has here 2 operands. Sometimes you write here -3. This is unary operator because it has only 1 operand. Okay. So like this, we have here arithmetic operators. Also, we have relational operators, logical operators, bitwise operators, equality operator, inequality operator, like shortcut operators. We have different types of operators. Later on, further we discuss about them. Okay, similarly, we have separators. Separators are nothing but you separate different statements, or you separate arguments in a function using comma. Okay, so using comma, you can be doing it. Just 1 minute. 1 minute, please. Hello. Sorry, I had some urgent call. Okay, so this is here a unary operator, and this one is here a binary operator. So like this, we use operators, and I was talking about actually separators. Separators can be line separators, or in a function, you can separate arguments. Or sometimes what happens in assignment also, you can be using that. For example, I have two variables like x equal to 10 and y equal to some 20. I want to swap the elements. Okay, so in such case, what I do, x comma y equal to, I write it as y comma x. In such case, what happens? They are going to be getting swapped. That means the value of y comes into x and the value of x comes into y. So like this, they are going to be getting swapped. In such case, also we use here comma to separate actually two here variables. Or sometimes you may call a function. For example, you have a sum function. In that, you have to put two different variables, a comma b. In such case, also we use comma to separate the variable, to separate the arguments here. So like this, we have operators, separators, constants also, but constants are not supported officially in the Python language. Okay, so these are basically the key, the tokens. Using them, we create the statements. You can create statement using the tokens. And we need to remember one thing, Python is a case sensitive language. It does differentiate between uppercase and lowercase. We have to be always careful whenever you write code with the Python, because Python is a case sensitive language. It is going to differentiate between uppercase and lowercase. Like a equal to, you can write 10, and when you put again a equal to some 20, these two are different variables in Python language. Okay, so it's a case sensitive language. Even keywords also, I mean lowercase only keywords mostly. So you have to write only lowercase. If you got habituated to developing applications using BASIC or any other language which is not case sensitive, in such cases, it takes some time for you to adopt this particular convention. No, not convention, it's a rule actually. Compulsorily you need to follow this lowercase typing in, proper case actually. Proper case in the sense depending on the variable. Suppose you declared uppercase A, you cannot use lowercase a for accessing the uppercase A. It's a case sensitive language, you need to follow this one. Otherwise, the code will not compile properly, it gives errors. Okay, now let me show you some sample program. In that, what I do, I'm going to be inputting some data, I'm going to print it. So for that purpose, we have some functions called input function, and other thing is output, that is print. Okay, there is one function called input. With the help of input, I can read data from keyboard, and using print, I can write on the monitor. So both of them can be called as here console. Okay, console is basically control unit. In other systems, console is called as controlling unit. So here you are going to control your application by inputting, by pressing enter key. So that's why the input console is keyboard, and output console is going to be monitor. And when you get errors, even it's also going to come onto the screen only. Okay, so you have input console and you have output console, and other thing is error console. So error and output is going to be screen, whereas input console is going to be keyboard. So using keyboard, we enter. Okay, so let us now start writing code in the Visual Studio Code. You can use either Visual Studio Code or you can use PyCharm. PyCharm is actually another tool for developing only Python applications. But when you start using Visual Studio Code, you can develop different types of applications in this. You can develop a React application, you can develop an Angular application, you can develop Python code here, you can develop Go language applications. So it supports multiple languages. But PyCharm supports only Python language. So Visual Studio Code is free, PyCharm is not free. In such case, you need to go with the PyCharm Community Edition, which is free. Let me show you, PyCharm, how it looks. So here I have PyCharm Community Edition. I can launch PyCharm Community Edition. So here also you can write the code. It is from JetBrains. So this is the IDE we have. Using this IDE also, you can write the code. Okay, we can write code using this IDE as well. But it is more, it has more features because it's targeted towards only Python. So that's why it's going to be more comfortable when compared with the Visual Studio Code. But I prefer Visual Studio Code. Instead of using PyCharm, I use only the Visual Studio Code because multiple things I can do on that, and I'm habituated to Visual Studio Code. Okay, if you want to use this PyCharm, you can download, but download only community edition, and you can use it for writing Python code. Okay, now I'm just closing it. Just have shown you how the interface looks. Now here in this, earlier I created a folder called Python samples. I have loaded entire folder into this Visual Studio. I have opened it. Now I can write actually some second program in this. So for that purpose, I click on this, then I type here first.py. All Python programs end with an extension .py. So .py meaning is what here? It's a Python program. Okay, now I have got this. Okay, I got like this actually. So since it's a very basic application, I don't import any package. Normally, first we need to import packages. Okay, then after that you define function. At the end, you have to call the functions. Function definition is different and function invocation is different. So here in this case, I'm going to write here some simple Python code to input some data from keyboard and to display it on the monitor. So for that purpose, I use here input and print functions, which are predefined. For them, we need not actually import any package, Python package. So by default, they are available. One is what input, other one is print function. So input, using the input, you can input data, and using print, we can actually print something on the monitor. Now let me here, first of all, I want to enter my name. Then I write in this way, name equal to, and one more thing, Python is not actually any strongly typed language. Okay, strongly typed, it's not strongly typed language, as well as it's not strictly typed language. It's a dynamically typed language. So you need not declare a variable much before you use it. Straight away you can assign data to variable. Whatever variable name you want to give, you can give, and you can assign some value to that. And other thing, but you cannot, it does not accept duplicates. Okay, if you try to use again this one, in that case, what happens? Type may get changed. I'll demonstrate it, how it changes. So first of all, I'm going to input I want to input my name. So for that purpose, I can use in two different ways. First, I can display some prompt on the screen using print function. Okay, enter name or enter your name. Then followed by here, I'll go this way, then put input. Like this, I can call the function. So in this case, what happens? It is going to wait for keyboard input. Once you enter data and when you press enter key, in such case, the name will have that data in that. And whatever data is coming from the keyboard, it is going to be always in the string format. So what data we entered, we can print, and what type of data it is also we can print. So let us first print it. Here print. Here we write your name is. Okay, followed by here, write this way, name. Okay, so I'm using in this case two arguments. First one is your name and second thing is name. Or else it can be printed even like this. Print your name is, then followed by, I can concatenate. I can just go with plus and I can write here name. So this is called as concatenation. Whenever you use plus symbol before the two strings, that is called as concatenation. Okay, but if you use a plus symbol before two integer operands or floating point operands or between the numbers, that is going to be arithmetic operation. So plus is actually overloaded within the language. The plus we can use to add two strings or two numbers. So here I'm adding two strings. This concept is called as string concatenation. I'm putting together those two things. Similarly, what type of data it is I want to print here. Print followed by the type of here, followed by put comma, then write name, again comma, is, again I put one more comma, then followed by here I go with the type. You have a predefined function called type. With the help of that we can print what type of data it is. I write here name. Okay, now I need to run this application, this program I need to run. So as much as possible, try to use the command line. Okay, I mean, invoking commands from command line is a good practice. So once you get perfection, you can use IDE features. You can invoke from here only. But before you get perfection, try to use always from the command prompt. So when you are in the production, that means when you are developing real-time applications, then in such cases, you can use the tools like IDEs. Because you need to do fast, okay, and you need to produce more and more within less time. In such case, you need to use tools normally. Okay, initially when you learn, I recommend you to use only command line. Most of the times use command line. From there only try to compile. So in such case, what happens? You get more control over it. You'll be remembering commands as well. But when you start using GUI, you really don't know much about that. How many of you know about the, commands like, suppose I want to list files in a computer. What command we need to give? Many of you don't know, because youngsters mostly they use the Windows. In the Windows, they go to File Explorer, from there they see. But there are commands like dir. With the help of this, you can see here. You can create a directory from here. You can change it to directory. Okay, so if you are experienced, if you have worked with the command line or with the Linux, you know about it. Otherwise, just if you use Windows, in such case, you may not be knowing all these things. You have to know even these also. Okay, that's why try to use command line whenever you want to compile Python programs, or whenever you want to run the Python program. In such case, try to use the command line. Okay, so this I have saved in which folder? Python samples. It is part of the G drive. I have saved it. Now I go to the G drive in this. So I go to here, G drive. Then here I go to G drive. Here I change it to Python samples. I change it to concerned directory. And what is the name of the file I have just created? It is first.py. So I run here Python followed by first.py. Okay, first.py. What it says, enter your name. I enter ASR. Then what it is printing? Your name is ASR. Your name is ASR. The type of ASR is here class str. That means what type of data it is? String type of data. Whatever we entered is string type of data. Again, I run same application and try to see here. But this time I enter some number like this. I'm entering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So normally when we enter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what do we think? It is actually number. Since we are seeing digits only, we think it is a number. But in fact, it's not a number here, it's a string. When you enter something from keyboard, it is nothing but string. For every character, for every symbol you are showing on the screen, it is equal to some ASCII character. It is equal to some ASCII character. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is nothing but a string. When you press enter key here, it is called as string only here. The name is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your name is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The type of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is class str. When you enter something from keyboard, it is going to be the string format. String meaning is what which you write in double quotes, that can be called as a string. Okay, here enter your name is string. Okay, your name is nothing but a string. And this name from where you are getting from keyboard we are getting, so name is a string here. So like this, whatever you enter from keyboard is in the string format. Okay, so as far as data types are concerned, here you take any programming language, it has to support different types of data. because data can be like strings, or it can be numbers, it can be date time, it can be true false values, it can be binary data. So every language should support different types of data. Okay, so initially we look into this here. First thing is numbers. Numbers further we can divide into absolute and approximate. So absolute and approximate. Absolutes are mostly integers. And when it goes to approximate, floating point numbers can be called as approximate. For approximate example, 10 by 3 is approximate. Or take 100 by 3, it's approximate. Or 22 by 7 you take, this is also nothing but approximate. Okay, they can be rational as well as irrational numbers. They can be rational as well as irrational numbers. 22 by 7 is a rational number. Okay, so in the case of absolute, it is something like here 10, then 20, then 30. Such numbers can be called as absolute. Okay, to measure quantities, we use them. Whereas approximate, actually 100 by 3, 10 by 3, 100 by 3, you never get exact value in that case. Always it's approximate data. Because you can keep on dividing 10 with 3. 3.33333, it's endless. In the case of 100 by 3 also 33.33, something like that you can get, which is endless. But computer memory is limited. To store that value, it's going to use only few bytes. Since computer memory is very limited, after some point, rest of the data is going to be truncated. So that is going to be approximate in such cases. Normally, computers use two types of precisions. One is single precision, other one is double precision. When you go with the single precision, after decimal point up to 5 digits, up to 6 digits, you have precision. When we go with the double precision, up to 15 digits, we have the precision. After that, there is no guarantee of the precision. Okay, such numbers can be called as here, approximate numbers. Similarly, we have strings. Strings are nothing but those we put in either in single quote, ABC I write, this is a string, or in double quotes you put. Python supports both convention, in both ways you can do, either in single quote or in double quotes, just like the JavaScript. Python is going to supporting both the things. You can show ABC in single quote or you can show ABC in double quotes. Both are supported in the case of Python language. Similarly, we have here date, time. With the help of this, you can manage both date and time. Okay, you have like Boolean, like true or false. Okay, it supports even them. And you have GUIDs, globally unique identifiers you can generate. It's called as global unique identifier. Similarly, it supports binary data. So these are the types of data available in the Python. And apart from that, you can define your own types. You can define your own types using class concept. Okay, and you have in this collection framework, collection classes as well. Collection types of data as well you have, like list. Then we have tuple. One more thing is set. The other one is dictionary. Okay, so these types of data also supported. And apart from that, user can define user's own types. Python does not support arrays. Remember that. Python does not support arrays. If you want to support arrays, if you want to use arrays, you need to go with the NumPy. So using NumPy, you can use arrays. It's a special package we need to install. Then you need to import into your application. You can use then arrays. It's a NumPy package. With the help of that, it's called a numeric py. In that, arrays are actually defined. You can use arrays once you import the NumPy package. But by default, the core Python does not support the arrays. Instead, you can use list, you can use tuple, set, and dictionary when you want to hold multiple values. So arrays are basically what aggregate homogeneous type of data. Okay, but if you look at list is not actually, it's homogeneous, it's heterogeneous. You can store different types of data in the list. If you have any familiarity with the languages like .NET or Java, in that you have a concept called list. One more thing is here, array list. So in the list, you have type safety. In the array list, you don't have type safety. List can, with the help of list, you can make generic kind of thing. With array list, you cannot make. So same thing here in the case of list. If you look at list, it is something similar to array list. Okay, tuple is nothing but read-only list. So set is going to be something similar to mathematical set equivalent. That means it cannot accept duplicate values. But it can be any type of data. So dictionary is basically key value pairs. Keys must not be duplicated. For every corresponding key, you can have a value. So these are the other types available. They are also inbuilt in the Python language. Okay. So it supports numbers, it supports strings, it supports date and time, it supports bool values, it supports GUID or UUID. UUID meaning is universally unique identifier. Okay. And similarly, it supports binary type of data as well. And apart from that, it supports list, it supports tuple, supports set, dictionary. They are inbuilt actually within the Python. And if you want to implement arrays, you have to use the NumPy. And apart from that, there are many other packages when you go with the analytics kind of thing. So there's a package called Pandas. With the help of Pandas, you can do, analytics related. Okay. So, but these are all extensions, you can say. So if you want to use them in your application, you can install using pip followed by install. That package you can install, you can start using in your application. As per the requirement, you need to use it. But in the core Python, these are not available. That means very basic framework of Python is not having these things. And if you need them, you need to install them separately and you can use. Okay, so these are the types of data available with the Python language. Okay, numbers, strings, date time, Boolean true or false, GUID or UUID, then binary data, it supports those. So using them, you can actually code. Okay, now here in this example, what is happening? I'm entering here some data from keyboard. The data always going to be in the string format for us. Okay, but suppose you want to enter numbers. Here I entered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have to convert that into number. In such cases, you need to go with the conversion functions. Okay, you need to use conversion functions. With the help of that, you can do. To convert a string into integer, okay, and comments you can write like this here. Using hash key, you can write here comments. Okay, and Python supports actually multi-line comments using 3 times like this. Here you can put the comment inside this. Inside this, whatever comment you want to put, you can put. This is a multi-line comment. Like this, it can be put here. So one more is required here. After that, when we press enter, so this is going to be a multi-line comment. Before the class name or before method name, normally we use it for creating documentation. Suppose you define some class or some function. Later on, if somebody has to use it, you need to create a reference manual for that. So the documentation strings, documentation comments, these are called. They are going to be very useful in preparing the reference material. By looking at these comments, the technical writers, they can use. Programmers cannot be technical writers. Okay, programmers, they develop application. After that, once application is made here, everything tested thoroughly, and when you want to move that into, market, in such case, you require reference manuals. They can be created by technical writers. Every programmer is a technical person, but the person cannot be technical writer. Okay, first of all, commenting, writing, programmers don't like it. Even they don't want to put even they don't want to put comments. But if they don't put comments, it is not readable. Whatever code you write, it should be readable, then adaptable and extensible. These 3 factors are important. One more factor is reliable code you need to write. Under all circumstances, in the expected manner, it should behave. It should work. So if it's not working like that, sometimes if it works and sometimes it doesn't work, that means what? It is not the reliable code. Okay. And adaptability means what? I mean, in different situations, it should be getting adopted. Like in different like platforms, it should be working properly. Okay. Similarly, extensibility, easily you should be extending the given application. That means more features you should be in a position to add. That factor is called as extensibility. So when you write code, one more thing is readability. That means when somebody is going through your code, they should be easily understanding that. It's very important factor. Some programmers think actually when they write code, which is very complex to understand, it's great code they feel. That is absolutely wrong. Whatever code you write, it should be very simple to understand. So writing complex code is not great thing. And if you try to confuse people, it's really not a good thing. So if you confuse people, then there is no point in that. Your code should be straightforward, in my opinion. Easily, people should be in a position to understand that. With little expertism also, if they can understand your code is great code. And you should have comments as well. Without comments, it cannot be having the readability factor. Your code should be very simple and it should be readable. That means you need to have the comments. So this is called as a documentation comment. Otherwise, you can use comments with this. I can put like this is a sample program. Like this, I'm writing here. Okay. So here what I'm doing, I'm inputting data and I'm printing here on the screen. But after printing it, what is happening? Cursor is coming into next line. You can see here, cursor is coming into next line, but I want to remain in the same line. Suppose here, your name is name, we are printing. After that, what is happening? Cursor is coming into next line, in the next line it's printing. Then after that, it is coming into next line, it's printing. But I want to remain in the same line. All the three things must be printed in the same line. So for that purpose, I slightly modify this here. I can go with one comma. Then here, end we have. And here in this case, I go this way. Then I put here /t. /t meaning is what? It's a tab. This is called an escape sequence. Okay, here I can go with this then, and you put, then again here you put a /t. It is going to use a tab space. Even here also, same thing I want to put. Here for last thing, it's not required because I'm ending with this. Now when you run it, earlier when we run, what was happening actually? They are getting printed in different lines. Now when I run, all the things are going to come in the same line. I need to enter first of all name here. I enter name like this. What is happening in this case? Your name is AS Rao. Your name is AS Rao. And the type of AS Rao is here class str, type of data it is. Earlier it was printing in 3 different lines, but now I'm coming into only one line. I'm coming into only one line. Here I have used the tab character. But suppose I want to separate them using comma, I can just put a comma here, and with comma also I can print it. So this is called as here end. End meaning is what you are going to put in the end this particular character. When we don't put end character, it's going to be using here simply a new line. Here it's not required actually because this is the last line in the given print statement. So now it's going to print in the same line. All the things are going to be getting printed in the same line with a comma separation. Okay, again I enter here some AS Raw. Then I want to print. Everything is coming in the same line with a comma. Okay, so print function you can use in that manner. First, whatever string you want to print, you can print one string or multiple strings. Need not be only one string. It can accept n number of strings. But at the end, you need to put here end. So here, this is also optional. If you want to put, you can put. Otherwise, you can omit. But if you omit, what happens in such case? After printing current data, automatically cursor goes into next line. Okay, it goes into next line. So these console applications for practicing purpose most we use. Okay, so for practicing purpose mostly these are used, but when you develop your applications, full stack web applications, in such case, you are not going to see anything on the console. On the screen, you don't see much. You are going to see everything in the web browser because you create HTML pages from backend, you send to the HTML browser. So in this case, since you are learning it, you can, when something is shown on the console, what is happening exactly? So you can feel yourself confident. When you write some piece of code, if it's working as you expected, you feel more and more about you feel confident more and more about your skills. That means what you write is working properly. So for that purpose only, for testing purpose only, we actually do this kind of programs. We write programs, then we test it. While learning, we follow that approach. So whatever you learn, whether they are correct or not, by testing only, you can find them. So for testing purpose, you write code and you execute it. If it's working as you expect, that means what your test is successful. That means you have learned it. Okay, for that purpose, we use all code. Then we write programs. Then we run them. With that, you are going to be whether it's correct or not. You understand. If it's not working properly, where was the problem? You debug it and you solve it. So with that, your logic skills also improve very much. Your reasoning skills also very much improve. And similarly, when you become a programmer, it's very easy for you to grasp other domain knowledge as well. Okay, need not be only about coding. You learn even others also. Sometimes you work with insurance company, insurance projects. You get the knowledge of insurance. Sometimes you work with the stock trading related. So you learn about the how actually the stock market runs, whether it's day trading or long-term investments, how they work actually you understand. Okay. Similarly, when you work with financial applications, you understand something like related to accounting. Okay, you understand. Sometimes you may work with banking, you get the knowledge of banking. So, first of all, your skills, logical skills will improve like anything. Okay, you get even more and more patience also. Initially, we may be impatient, but once you start coding, your patience capacity also improves a lot. Okay, your logical reasoning capacity improves. Then one more thing is you learn many different things. And above all these things, when you learn in our life, every day, you are going to be looking more and more younger. Okay. So for all these factors, you have to go with the programming. Whether you become a full-fledged developer or not, that can help you even your next generations. You can help them in learning things. Okay. So that's why what I say, everyone should go with the programming that improves their life a lot. So here in this case, what is happening? We are inputting some name. Then after that, we are printing and what its type is also we are printed here. Okay. Similarly, one more example I show. Then after that, I wind up the session. Now, in such case, I want to enter two numbers. I want to enter two numbers. Then I want to perform all arithmetic operations. Then I want to print result. Okay. For that purpose, I write some other program. The program is basically I want to enter two numbers from keyboard. Then I want to perform arithmetic operations on them. Then after that, I want to print the result. Okay. So for that purpose, I want to write some other program here. So in this case, I can choose a language here, Python. So now in this, what I do, I can say first of all this. This is second dot py. So here, otherwise, I'll go with this then, put here. Okay. So here. In such case, here I come to this point, then here, I put this as here, second dot py. Okay. Here, we can, normally you need to put this code. Program to read two numbers, any two numbers from keyboard. Then add and perform arithmetic operations. And find the result. and find and show their results on the screen. So this we are going to do. So these are the comments I mean, when somebody is going through this, they can easily understand. Next thing is here, author. Okay, you can put it as some full stack developer. Then other thing here, date. Whatever date it is, we can put. Like this is 11, 18, then 2023. So I am using in the, as for American culture, in the American notation, I'm putting it month, day, and year. But in India, we use day, month, and year. Then I have to start the prompt. So always demarcate like this. Good decoration is required for your code. When you decorate like this, what happens? When somebody is going through your code, they can easily understand that. Here now, I have to read data. Okay, what I do here, I want to put something like this, first num. So first num equal to here. Instead of using first print, here itself I can give the message. Enter. Okay, enter first number. Okay. Similarly, next thing is here, second num. Here I write input. Then write here, enter second number. Okay. We enter first number and we enter second number. So with this, what happens here? Input from keyboard. For every line, we did not comment, but most frequently we need to comment. Input from, again, keyboard, second number. We need to input appropriate prompt you get. The next thing is here. But whatever we get from that, it is a, if you look at this, it is like a string only. Even if you enter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it is string. We need to convert that into here a number. Okay, we need to convert to number. So again, I define one more variable called fs. Then here I will go with the int, then followed by first num. So this can convert the string into now integer. Similarly, I go with the second num. Here I go with the sn. Then write here int second num. So if you have any prior experience with any other language, probably in that first you declare variable and associate with particular type of data. But here it's not required. Straight away I'm declaring variable and whatever data is coming from this, I'm going to associate with this. Okay, I'm going to store in that. So at that time, the type of the variable is going to be inferred. Okay, when you assign data, depending on the data, the type is going to be here realized or it can be inferred. So in this case, both of them are strings. We need to convert them into integers. For that purpose, we have here int function. With the help of that, we can convert. So first number is integer again. Second number also going to be integer. Now let us here find even the type of first num and this fs. So here go with the print followed by here. Print first of all here first num. Then followed by here type. Then it is first num. Then after that, I go with the, I just show only first num and fn. Same thing with the second number it is. So here it is second num. And this is going to be here. I'm sorry, this is first fn it is. This is sorry, fs. Fn I put here, not fs, I put fn. It's first number. Okay, then here it is fn followed by type fn. It's going to be fn like this I put. Okay. You can see that. Then we try to print all the results here. But first see this. What type of data it is? First num is going to be here. What type of data? It is string type of data, but fn is what exactly? It is here numeric type, integer type we get. So go here Python followed by second.py. Put like this. Enter a number. I enter here 2, 3, 4. One more thing is 4, 5, 6. So first, in the first case, what it is saying here? str. So first name is nothing but str, whereas fn is what here? It is integer, because we have converted that into number. Okay, that is converted to number. So like this, you need to convert. But here you have a problem. Whenever you try to convert like this, there can be a problem. So where the problem can be, once again see here. First number I entered 23, second number I entered AB. What will happen in such cases? Can it be converted to number AB? It cannot be, because the string is containing not digits, it's containing alphabets. So this leads to runtime error. It is saying error in that case because it can't convert invalid literal for int. In the base 10 system, you don't have AB. Probably in the base 16 system, you have AB, but when you go with the base 10, you don't have that. Okay, we don't have the base 10, so therefore it is error. Suppose we try to go with here in this case, like, okay, first here we need to resolve the issue. Such errors we should not get. So for that purpose, what we do, we can go with here exception handling called as try. Okay, we go with the try here. Then whenever you go with a block, you need to write indent. Okay, it is going to be getting right indented. Then we come to this point here, except we write, and in this we need to print exactly what is the problem. We can print invalid data, invalid numeric type, numeric data. I print like this. In this case, what is the possibility? There is only one possibility. Earlier, the application was crashing. Okay, in the case of web applications, if it's crashing, what happens? The site is going to come into grinding halt, which should not happen. So therefore, we need to handle the exceptions in a proper way. So earlier it was exception, runtime error. When you write, whenever you deal with programs, there can be 3 types of errors we get. First one is compilation error. That means whenever you write code at that time, you may have syntax errors or some other types of errors. Such errors can be handled before program runs. While program is running, you may get errors. There can be again 2 types in that. One is what? Exceptions. The other can be fatal errors. Exceptions are something like this. You try to divide a number with 0, or you try to convert a string into number, which is not part of actually base 10. So such errors can be called as, or sometimes what happens, you're trying to access data from a list. You're trying to use an index, which is, above the length of the index, length of the list. In such case also, index out of bounds, that is. So like that, you are going to get errors. Such things are called as runtime errors. One more type of error is actually sometimes what happens, you don't have enough memory for the heap or stack. So operating system creates and allocates for every program which you're running certain amount of space for heap purpose and certain amount of for stack purpose. Okay, when your computer is falling short of that, in such case also it cannot work. In such case, you need to completely close your computer. That means you need to shut it down. Again, you need to restart. Crash means it's not physical crash. It is only the program coming to grinding halt. System comes to grinding halt. Whatever you press, keyboard key you press or anything, it will not work totally. So totally it's going to be getting stuck up. So in such case, you need to forcefully, restart computer, then everything can work fine. Such errors are called as actually fatal errors. We cannot do anything in such cases, except rebooting the system. Okay, so but we need to take care that your application is not going to give such type of errors, stack or heap errors. Okay, so whenever you call functions, actually, normally the stacks are created. But if you create a function, a recursive function, If it's keep on creating stacks forever, in such case, what happens? After a certain point of time, it's going to be coming into grinding halt because you don't find enough memory in that. So we need to take care with that. What happens? You write better code, which is going to give only few errors. Okay, now in this case, what happens? Even if you enter AB, it will not crash. This is called as crashing, showing errors. Now it will not show any such error. That means only message you get. Now I enter AB, AD here. What is happening in this case? Invalid numeric data. Earlier on the top, it's showing something like this. This is wrong actually. Now what is happening in this case? It is giving the user information, invalid numeric data. Okay, like this here, what I'm doing, I'm converting the string into numbers. And we are printing even the type of the data as well. Okay, it is already too late for you, I think. We resume on Monday. From here, we are going to continue. We perform the arithmetic operations. You have any questions? Okay, then I'm winding up session. I feel that you don't have any questions.
Sir, what is that base 10 thing?
What is?
Base 10.
Base 10 means decimal number system.
Up to 10.
0 to 9 digits you use.
Yeah. So what's the use of that sentence in the command lines?